Can you manifest anything that you want? I think when you ask people this question, you're going to get a broad range of answers, everywhere from, of course I can, whatever I ask for is going to magically show up on my doorstep, to, of course I can't, that's a bunch of baloney and nonsense, and everywhere in between. And I used to lean more toward the baloney side of things, but that was because I didn't really understand what manifestation was. And I thought it was more about manifesting material things into your life because that's mainly what I had seen and heard about. But then I put a pin on Pinterest that had the word manifest in it, and all of a sudden I started getting all of these followers who were promoting manifestation or were very interested in manifestation. And it got me to thinking, is deliberate thinking just another way of saying manifestation? And also, can you manifest whatever you want? So, by the end of this video, we are going to try to answer those two questions. But first, let's start out by talking about deliberate thinking, because this is a concept that my whole mission revolves around. Every post I write revolves around this philosophy. And the philosophy is that you can realize your full potential through deliberate thinking. And the way you do that is by examining the expectations that you are willing to live by, and through that process, you will start to transform the way that you see the world. And you can transform the way you see the world by embracing the cycle of deliberate thinking, as I've called it. I've created that cycle. Now, I didn't coin the phrase deliberate thinking, of course, but I did create the cycle, and the cycle is based on teachings of Abraham Maslow, Jordan Peterson, and Mel Robbins mainly, but I also drew a lot of inspiration from Gary John Bishop, Brene Brown, and Noam Chomsky. So just to give you an idea of how I came up with this philosophy in this cycle. So what happens as you embrace the cycle of deliberate thinking, and you can find that cycle on the website. I'm not going to go through every piece of it today. But as you embrace the cycle, you begin to uncover your authentic self, and your authentic self begins to emerge. And that's what leads you to your full potential. And I believe in this philosophy wholeheartedly, partly because it is supported by neuroscience. And I'm someone who likes facts, and I like figures, and I like to know that there's science behind whatever I am believing in. So neuroscience has proven that your thoughts can literally change the way that you see the world. So I want to introduce a couple great quotes that will kind of start bringing this theory home. And I'm going to read them so I don't mess them up. So the first one is from Dr. Laura Boyd, and or Lara, it's Lara, it's probably Lara Boyd. She's a neuroscientist. And she said, your brain is tremendously plastic, and it's being shaped both structurally and functionally by everything you do, but also by everything that you don't do. Dr. Karen Young, a psychologist, said something similar. Every thought, feeling, and action creates a pathway in your brain. Whenever you do something over and over, that pathway becomes stronger and stronger. The stronger that pathway, the easier the behavior, thought, or feeling will be. So that is kind of the thought behind deliberate thinking, is that you can rewire your brain, train your brain to think in a different way, and that's going to open you up to different perspectives, basically. And then there's this whole section in my post based on what I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he is a neuroscientist, and a video of his taught me a lot of the concepts behind deliberate thinking. So what he says is that your thoughts are a reflection of your environment, and that your personal growth requires you to think greater. These are his words. Think greater than your environment. And we'll come back to that, and we're going to link that to manifestation. But basically, you have to first, to experience personal growth, or to realize your full potential, as I would say, you have to change your personality. And your personality is simply the fusion of your thoughts, actions, and feelings. And you change your personality, of course, by changing your thoughts, actions, and feelings. But the way you do that is you have to rewire your brain. You have to create new connections in your brain. And the easiest way to do that is by learning something new, or as I would say, by staying curious. So, again, these are kind of the links. I'm just introducing some links here between my philosophy of deliberate thinking and the neuroscience that supports it. And we'll get into the manifestation part. So, anyway, you create new connections, and then these new connections reflect a different perspective of the world back to you. And then what happens is you start recognizing opportunities that you didn't recognize before. So that's why I challenge us to face our limiting beliefs, and I challenge us to look at topics from a different perspective. And now another thing that Dr. Dispenza talks about is visualization, and visualizing what you want in your life, visualizing what you'd like your life to look like, what you'd like to have in the future. The really interesting thing about this, and I've heard this from more people than just him, so there's definitely got to be some science to support it, is that your brain, our brains, don't recognize the difference between something that you just visualized happening and something that actually happened. Now, of course, you know logically that one didn't happen and the other did, but the way that it affects your brain, the pathways that it creates in your brain are the same, whether it actually happened or not. So you can rewire your brain through visualization. And the result of all this rewiring of your brain and these new connections is going to be what Dr. Dispenza called a new state of being. And what that is that's your state of being is a combination of how you're feeling and what you're thinking. And when these two things align, your thoughts and feelings, that's when you can start manifesting what you want. And you can align your thoughts and feelings through deliberate thinking. So that's how this all kind of connects. The philosophy, the neuroscience, the manifestation theory, whatever. Okay, so what you've been waiting for, the manifestation part. So one part of manifesting is seeking direction. In this part of the post, it was inspired by Gabrielle Bernstein, and she seems to be pretty well respected in the manifestation law of attraction world. And she said the first step to manifesting what you want is to recognize when you are trying to control a situation in your life. That's the first thing you have to do. And then you have to ask your inner guide, she calls it, to reinterpret the situation. And then you have to allow your inner guide to come forward, or allow the direction of your inner guide to come forward to reinterpret that situation and kind of show you where you should go, what path you should take. And all three of these steps match up to the neuroscience, because the neuroscience tells you if you want to make changes in your life, positive personal growth, you have to recognize the thoughts that you're trying to control and that no longer suit you. And you have to think greater than your environment, which is, to me, kind of the same thing as reinterpreting the situation. And you have to allow the new pathways to form. That's going to reflect a different world back to you. And to me, that's kind of the same thing as taking direction from your inner guide, is that you're allowing yourself to see the world in a different way. The second part of manifestation, or I shouldn't say the second part, I don't really know how, I'm just learning about manifestation. I don't really know how many parts there are. There were 3 parts that I focused on in my post. So the second part that I focused on is attraction. And I got inspiration for this from Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he, again, he's passed now, but he seemed to be someone who, again, was very well respected in this world. And he said something that really changed my perspective on manifestation. And what he said is that what you're really trying to attract, and I'm going to read this to make sure I say it right. He said, I will attract into my life what I am, not what I want. So that really flipped the switch in my mind, because then what we're talking about when we're talking about manifestation is not getting what you want. It is about, although it kind of is, and I'll get to that, but it's not about getting what you think you want. It's about finding who you are. It's about figuring out what you need, figuring out what your natural gifts are, so that you can realize your full potential. And your full potential is what you really want, whether you know it or not. And again, I go back to this is exactly what deliberate thinking is all about. So when he said those words, that really clicked with me, and that really just got me ignited to learn more about manifestation. And again, of course, this is what the neuroscience proves as well, in case I haven't said that enough yet. Okay, the third part of manifestation that I discussed in the post is harnessing your awareness. And I got this inspiration from Dandapani. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Hopefully, I'm not massacring that too bad. But Dandapani is a Hindu priest, and he seems to be pretty popular. I've seen quite a bit of his videos, and yeah, I've learned a lot from him. So what he says is where awareness goes, energy flows. So this is the part where not manifestation, meditation. So this is where meditation comes into manifesting what you want. Because what meditation does is it conditions your brain to focus your thoughts and emotions. Basically to focus your awareness. And when you focus your awareness, you're focusing your awareness on what you want to attract. And that in turn is going to change your perception of the world. Your energy is going to start flowing toward wherever your awareness is going, whatever you're trying to attract. And you're going to start recognizing opportunities that will allow you to manifest what you want, basically. So that's how the meditation comes into play. And again, one last time here, it goes right along with the neuroscience, because the neuroscience says that you can rewire your brain, and the way you would do that would be through meditation. That's going to create a new state of being. Again, I would say that just means that your awareness, your state of being is your awareness, and you're going to be able to manifest what you want. So the really exciting thing to me is that neuroscience today is proving what Hindu priests, monks, and yogis have been teaching for thousands of years. And so to me, that is just a tried and true. How can you argue that it isn't possible? Or how can you argue that it's not true when people have been teaching it for thousands of years and now we're actually able to prove it? The question now becomes, how will you use your power? Now that you know you have the power to manifest what you want in your life. And I truly believe that we all are capable of becoming everything that we are supposed to be. And it's worth our time to learn more about manifestation, because that could be a big part in helping us get there. So if you go to my Pinterest board, that'll give you some resources, because I've started a board called Mindfulness and Meditation, and it has links to several articles from fellow bloggers that will help you get started. In this post, I'll have a couple links to some other sources too that will help you learn more about manifestation. And of course, I'll put a worksheet. I have put a worksheet together for you guys, so that will help guide you down the path of learning a little bit more about this. And until next time, stay curious.